Hi, I'm Janvi Rana, and in this particular video, we are going to dive to another question is like, which are the different types of heat exchanger and which one to use when? So, this was a question which was also asked to me in many interviews. So, let's get started. Now, so which type of heat exchanger to use? As we know that based on different types we have to classify which exchanger to be used. The first one is the fluid type, which is the type of fluid you are using. It is either how viscous, non-viscous, easily flowing. So based on that, you know what is your fluid type. It's either oil, it is natural gas, milk, or corn slurry. You can decide which type of heat exchanger to use. And another one is based on your application. You want it for heating purposes or cooling purposes. What is your applications? It could be reboiling also. So based on applications also you can classify your heat exchanger. Now based on size, what size fits your plant or the area you have, you can decide which exchanger to use. And based on temperature, pressure, what are your process fluids temperature and pressure, you can decide which heat exchanger you can use. And this being the most important factor which will tell which heat exchanger that you can use. So cost is which is most economical for your plant, that type of heat exchanger you can use. So based on this few parameters we can classify which heat exchanger we can use. Now the next is which are the different types of heat exchanger. So based on the construction, you have plate heat exchanger, the spiral heat exchanger, the special tubular heat exchanger, the shell and tube heat exchanger. This is one which is widely used in the industry. Then you have scrapped surface heat exchanger. Now let's learn what are those. The first one we have got is plate and heat exchanger. Now here what happens, like different plates are being placed simultaneously. Over here in one particular part you will have your hot fluid flowing, and in another component you will have your cold fluid flowing. So this are as shown in the diagram, there are different plates linked together. So this is called as plate heat exchanger. Then the second one we got is the spiral heat exchanger. uh, uh, the spiral heat exchanger, you have got all concentric shells being placed, and in which one hot and another one cold fluid is being placed. Now talking about the spiral, it is used in the PVC slurries and various type of materials. Now then we have got special tubular heat exchanger. In the special tubular it has a different construction, and this is actually used for heat transfer for food and beverage industries, and this can be easily cleaned. So this is your special tube heat exchanger. And now the industry's favorite is shell and tube heat exchanger. Here you have shell and concentric tubes being placed inside it, and the shell and tube heat exchanger finds various its application in various industries. Now we have got another special type which is called as scraped surface heat exchanger. In the scraped surface heat exchanger, what you have is you have got a scraper material and one scraper material with some blades in it. Now this part, the inner part, keeps on rotating. It has one of the fluid flowing in, and another heat sensitive flows into the other side. So this type of scrap surface heat exchanger is used for special purposes like sterilization, gelatinization, and crystallizations, pressurization. So because it's a heat sensitive material, it has also got and the crystals and has got a rotating part. So these are a few types of exchanger based on your construction and how it works. Now deciding which one to use when. Now based on fluid type and applications, we can find applications. It could be heating, boiling. It depends on the industries which you are working. Basically on the fluid, if it is less viscous, you can go with shell and tube heat exchanger. So for very clear and clean fluid we use shell and tube heat exchanger. Now it's a moderate viscous, you can use the other types of heat exchanger. It is highly viscous, then you can use the scrapped heat exchanger. Now, based on the solid contents, like if it has approximately less than 15% of solids, you can go with the shell and tube, the plate heat exchanger, the spiral heat exchangers. So this works on the less solid part. If you have got more, then you can go with the scrap heat exchanger. So based on the fluid type and amount of solid concentrations, you can decide. And based on applications, reboiling, boiling, you can put that feature into. Now, based on temperature and pressure, for the lower temperature and lower pressures, you can use plate heat exchanger. Now, if you use higher pressure, what will happen? The sheets are compactly packed, and there might be the vapor formation in between, and it will lead to a very poor heat performance. So, plate heat exchanger is used for the lower pressure and lower temperatures, about 450 Fahrenheit. For scrap heat, it works on slightly higher pressure, and for high pressures and high temperatures, it is advisable to use special tubular heat exchanger and shell and tube heat exchanger. Now, going in the next one, it based on the cost and the size. For cost, the special tubular and shell tube are the lowerly priced, whereas a plate heat exchangers, scrap and spiral are more costly. So based on what applications you have to decide the cost and its function. Now, based on size, as you know, PHEs are very tiny, it can be fit into the small space, whereas others, based on the design and construction, whereas shell and tube occupies the maximum size, but it is one of the most economical one. So based on all of these factors, you have to decide, which heat exchanger is up to your purposes. And even more, so at the end of the session, to decide which type of heat exchanger to use when, I wanted to ask you, which is the heat exchanger that you find at your home, and can you spot this one at your home, and let me know which type of heat exchanger it is. Thank you.